Hi guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. It's been I am coming back. Don't you worry, I am coming back. I will actually be talking about it more in depth in my next video, which is going to be my monthly reset video coming back next month. And hopefully this time stronger. Though when last time I said that, it wasn't exactly strong. Like the title says, we are going to be doing our little wrap up. Now, I am combining basically the fall months, aka like September through November. It is way easier for me to do a seasonal TBR than like a monthly TBR, mostly because I feel like it gives me more space to mood read, if you know what I mean, if I want to. So yes, though next month will be the only month I think that I actually do a monthly TBR, just because it kind of makes sense in a way, since next month is the last month of 2024, which let's not read too much into that. Spoiler alert, it is not that much. I actually was going to create and upload and whatnot a Halloween video where I read spooky books for Halloween, and that did not happen. Oh, I forgot one book. Hold on. I literally, in the midst of filming that, forgot one book, and October was one of those months where I definitely was, I think I was focused on more so on like costume and costume designing and whatnot, which, don't get me wrong, love doing that, and not so much like on reading. So though November was definitely a strong reading month for me, I actually managed to finish my fall TBR. Well, what I really decided to read for my fall TBR. So yeah. So anyways, without further ado, let's actually get this video started. So hopefully I can actually finish this video and upload it to the interweb. Okay, so for the first book that I read during this fall season, which I don't have physically because I read it on my Kindle, was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This club book pick for September for Madison Kate's Patreon book club, which I am in, and it was basically has been the only book that I managed to read and finish, but that book was a 4-star for me. I will admit, if this hadn't been a book club pick, and if I hadn't have had the like wanting to finish this because that way I could watch the vlog for it, I would probably not have finished it, because it was definitely one of those things where it starts off slow and it's kind of like, okay, we're 20 pages in, are we getting somewhere? And then it kind of feel like the last like 100, maybe even like more, I'm not even sure, were like really fast paced and picked up a lot. And I will say, times where I wanted to put this book down so bad, but holy crap, it was actually really good. And I feel like the slow start, big finish only goes for this book in particular, because it took me a while to kind of actually be able to picture the characters, how they're described, because I will admit, I even commented this on one of the chats, but I was like, Kingfisher is who the male is on the front of the cover adult. I was picturing him as definitely someone who was a people that's very kind and nice and trying to help out like the main character, trying to like get her to like, I don't say believe in herself, but you know what I mean. Like you if you read the book, you know what I mean. It didn't occur to me until they were literally like this close to like kissing, and I was like, wait a minute, hold up, you're telling me, okay, that makes a bit more sense, because just like something ain't adding up, and then I realized after looking on Pinterest, I realized, oh, that's the that's the character on the front of the book. Gotcha. So yeah, that was funny and a fun little time. But overall, honestly, very, very slow, gradual step into fantasy girl fall. But I liked it. I wish I had more to say about this book. I do, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember. I've read so many other books, and I've had so much, like, it's been, my life has been so busy since reading that book that, like, it feels like a lifetime ago. Didn't pick up another book until like about 2 weeks after I finished that book, which was probably the middle of October. The next book that I read is Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. This book, oh my gosh, this book literally, I feel like you have to read this in like the fall season or like Halloween because it's so, like, literally when I tell you, I highlighted, I I highlighted a paragraph of this, like the first actual paragraph of this book. I gave this book a 4 star. The only reason why it's not a 5 star, I feel like, is because there were some parts I feel like in the end. No, I don't know if I was really desperate to finish this book so I could get into my next kind of book, because I think the problem was with me is that I had like 3 or 4 books to finish that I wanted to finish in either like September or like November, that were like mystery books that I was gonna film a video for. I was. The amount of books I had on my TBR, I feel as though I could have enjoyed the ending to this a lot better. Like, when I say ending, I don't mean like the last couple pages. I mean like the 100 so pages before the last like couple pages, if that makes any sense. Where, we're starting to get like a lot of action and a lot of like high stakes rising and they're trying not to die kind of situation. I feel like I could have enjoyed that better if I hadn't have been like checking how many pages I had left. I feel like that is why I didn't really like the ending of this book. I was thinking about the next couple of books I had after this book. So in this book, we basically are following 3 girls who basically are real life witches signing away their life technically. It's a very interesting take on witches, basically a very interesting like kind of take with witches and the whole type of like them working with the devil or working with like dark magic or whatever. The invocations are basically them carving, stuff into their skin and having like a demon or a whatever thing kind of take a hold on their soul or take hold on that part of the body. And because that happens, the body gets really infected and really just like their whole personality is like flipped. And so this super rich girl who is born into this like super rich, super just like highly respected family, and she's basically the outcast of the whole group. And so she decides, F it, I'm going to just do this and see what happens. And because of that, her family, because they don't know what has happened, and B, trying to make themselves look, trying to make themselves look good, not her. They basically spin the story of she is, you know, dealing with drugs, dealing with a personality disorder, all that kind of stuff, which it kind of works. And so she's got that whole side of the thing, whole situation. And all while this happens, there is a witch hunter out in the world who is basically like doing these like young girls who go and kind of ask for a service or whatever to get this sort of invocation done with this very like generally old witch, but she's linked to an older generation of witches, and he's basically trying to find her in a way, but going through all the people that she has basically helped in a way. And so they're all trying to figure out, one, how to cure this girl that is basically decided, I don't want this anymore. Please get this away from me, or get this off me, or out of me, or whatever. And then another girl who is trying to figure out who killed her sister, who did this to her sister, because her sister is one of the people that ends up dead. And she's trying to raise her from the grave because desperate times call for desperate measures apparently. So all that happens, and of course, at the very there ends up being a relationship formed between 2 of these characters. Okay, so it is a different day. My microphone decided to just die on me in the middle of filming, and I didn't realize it until I finished filming, and I thought it would be okay. but when I went to go edit the video, I realized the audio was completely gone. So basically, I'm here to pick up where I left off. Yeah, I was finished with the Invocations. With that, anyway, that book I gave, I think it was like a 4-star maybe. Yeah, so there's that. Moving, this next book is completely different genre than all the other books that I've read, because it is not a fantasy, it is not a mystery YA whatever, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So I did anticipate reading this in the summer of, like, I think it was June, but for some reason I was just like, I don't know if I was in a reading slump or I was just like, I don't know what was going on, and I only got a certain way through it, or like 100 pages into it, and just stopped reading it. And so I picked it back up again because I was kind of running like a romance book, but I didn't want to read like a new, like I didn't want to pick up a new one because I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. So I thought about going back to Beach Read. And this is my first ever Emily Henry book. I'm trying to read them just because I feel like there's such like a core, like Emily Henry's writing and books are such a core, you know, thing in a romance. So I wanted to kind of get into that. So I started off, I'm doing it by publication order. So hopefully, I think that this is the first one, yeah. So I definitely enjoy this book. It was very much so like, I'm not, let me say this also, I am not a romance person. I definitely did not start out in romance as a genre whenever I was reading, or whenever I started reading again. I more so read fantasy or romantasy, and because I have been watching Madison Kate's vlogs and videos more often and whatever, she has really gotten me into reading romances just because of how they are. The only qualm I have with this book, if I'm being honest, is the fact that, and this isn't like a hate towards, I think this is generally like romance genre hate than it is hating for this book or hating this author. I honestly just didn't really. I feel like the ending was very predictable, and I feel like that's how it is for a lot of romance books, and that's why I don't read romance books at all, because they're very predictable. So basically, in this book, we are following we are following January and Augustus as the love interest, but we are following January as we're basically following January as she kind of goes through the stages of grief and loss with her dad and also her mother. Basically, her mother and her dad's relationship together, because she finds out while she is at the beach house that her dad rented out. She finds out that her dad was basically seeing another woman while her mother was suffering or going through cancer treatments. And she always lived in this like happy kind of, or wanting to live in this happy, I don't remember if it's she wanted to live or she was living in this happy like childhood moment or childhood kind of situation. But she started writing love stories because she wanted the happy ending. She wanted the happy love story ending. And so she ends up going to this beach house, and obviously in that she finds out her dad was seeing another woman, and also that her neighbor was her high school rival Augustus, who is also a author as well. And because it's such a tiny town, they basically end up seeing each other at the bookstore, and they have to go in for like a book signing or whatever, and basically start meeting up and start doing this whole like kind of themed dating where they basically try and figure out how, or the like, it's basically like research for their book. So it's hands-on research for each other's books or whatever, if that makes any sense. And through that, they basically find out like things about each other that make sense. So like why Augustus is always grumpy and why he's always like not in the mood. And then also why, January is very much so like, I want this, but I don't want this, but I want this. And yeah, it wasn't horrible. Like, it was not horrible. I just think the ending was very predictable, and I did not like that at all because, like, I got halfway through the paragraph of the last page and I was like, they're gonna get married, like they're getting engaged. Which I feel like isn't a spoiler because I feel like that's not a spoiler. I don't know. Anyways, overall, really loved it. Definitely different from any other books I read these couple months just because it is a romance book, but I will definitely be reading more of these just because I am interested to see if her writing does get not better, but if it does kind of progress. Just because I think this is her first publication book, and normally writers, when they write their first book, they're not horrible, but you can tell it's their first book. The amount of tabs I have in here, like, this was also the first book that I realized, like, I wanted to switch on my annotation tabs, or my annotation system, just because it was making more sense. Moving on to October, I only read, I think, one book, and by read, I literally mean halfway through it and then just put it down. And that book is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now, I had very high hopes for this book, and before any of y'all get mad, I really do think I didn't do this book justice. I honestly think that if I had sat down and actually took a moment to give the book its moment, I would have actually very much so enjoyed this book because the ending, the second half of this book was awesome. Literally, it was amazing. Very confused. Like I knew the synopsis, I knew the storyline and how it went and how it was gonna go, and whatever. But the way it went was very confusing, I would say. We're basically following Elspeth Spindle as she has a monster in her head from an infection because she touched one of the cards, I think it was one of the tarot cards that they use for magic, and basically absorbed all of its magic, including the nightmare. And basically, we're following her as she's trying to navigate her way through this kingdom that doesn't really, if you are infected with magic, you are immediately executed. Gone. Bye bye. And she's trying not to do that. So she ends up going to another person's house. She basically stays there until she is called to go back to basically I think where she lives, if I'm yeah. And because it's a whole midsummer equinox type of situation, I guess, I don't know. It's some sort of equinox. And there she meets a highwayman who basically I don't really remember what their job or what they are, but basically after she meets this highwayman, she is kind of in a tough situation where she quest to find the cure for the blunder, which is basically the infection. And in that, she's like, okay, well, if you're gonna find this, I need to be able to cure myself. Mira was slowly getting a hold of her whole entire body because that's what happens when you don't. I guess that's what happened. It's called degeneration, I think, and the magic or whatever basically takes hold of your whole entire body and you slowly die. I think that's what was happening to her. That was what was happening to her as she was using the power of the nightmare to try and get through whatever was going on. In this, she also finds that she is basically courting as a fake kind of marriage courting, I guess, one of the captains of the Destrius, I think that's what it's called. And basically, she's hiding the infection or hiding the nightmare from all of them because if they find out, it's not going to be good for her. And slowly but surely, her secrets are unveiled because one of the brothers of, I think it's the Rowans, I don't remember. I think that's what the name is. Yeah. Basically, is playing a game where you can't lie. You lie because of magic. And so in that, she kind of reveals that she has some sort of infection or she has some sort of magic within her. So yeah, while also they're trying to cure another brother in that whole thing. So honestly, the writing style, the magic, all that kind of stuff was definitely up, it definitely hit. But otherwise, I would give this book, I think my rating was rating for this would be somewhere around a 3.5 star if I'm being honest. Maybe a 3 star. It might be a 3 star just because like I said, I knew what was happening within the storyline. I knew the plot points within the storyline. I just didn't it was just put together for some reason. It was just really confusing to read. I don't know why. I feel like I should have loved the book. I feel like I should have loved this book, especially because it's a gothic fantasy and those things. are right up my alley. So moving on to the last month, which is November. This month I read so much, but I think it was also due to the fact that it was all mystery and very suspenseful. The first book that I read in November was Good Girl Bad Blood. This is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. That is a whole mouthful to say. Oh my gosh. And I absolutely love the series. Do I love each and every book individually? Not really, but I feel like put together it makes a 5-star series. This book literally is so easy to fly through. So in this book, we are following Pip as she is basically going back into the world of the detective kind of work, even though she said she was not going to because of what happened in the last case where it kind of got a little too serious. But because her friend's brother went missing, she went to the police because she was like, I'm not gonna help you, but I can get the police to help you. And of course, the police did absolutely nothing because they were like, oh, well, he's gonna come back in like 42 hours. It's not that big of a deal. But when he doesn't, people are starting to get worried that whatever, that maybe the case in the first book is linked to his case again. So basically, through this, she kind of uncovers a lot of secrets and things hidden within the family, within the families, and also within her own community. Honestly, really can't say a whole lot about this because I feel like if I do, every detail is like everything that happens from there on is a spoiler. I feel like. So I'm gonna try and do this best I can. Ends up uncovering after interview after interviews. She basically starts uncovering a lot of dark secrets and secrets about the town, secrets about the people within the town. And I will say the one thing I love from this book is the ending where the author Holly Jackson kind of describes, not kind of, she does describe how traumatic events can affect so deeply in someone's life because after Pip kind of gets thrown into this traumatic event that happens, she kind of, the author goes about kind of describing how it feels to a teenager to have that happen to you. And I just love that because most stories literally just end there and then don't go forward. And they don't show like how this moment could affect the teenager or the main character or whatever, going forward. And so I love that. So yeah, I honestly love this book so freaking much. But yeah, I would definitely give this book like a probably 4-star. The only reason why I would give it a 4-star is just no, it doesn't feel like a 5-star book. It feels like more like a 4-star book, but like I said, the whole series I feel like combined feels like a 5-star book. Or 5-star series. I'm doing the same kind of mystery detective work. We have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing. Love her writing. It is so easy and so easy yet so like captivating at the same time. And after seeing Madison Kate's review on this one from one of her vlogs, I decided to pick it up. And when I tell you, right out of the freaking gate, this book is just so good. Literally so good. Like, the fact that I don't watch Criminal Minds, but the fact that this was marketed as a Criminal Minds for teenagers, yes. Immediately freaking yes. If you don't know what this book is, a 17-year-old Cassie who has a ability to read people and to kind of piece together their lives and their story based off of their mannerism, how they look, how they act, all that kind of stuff. And because of that, she's basically invited into this FBI where a whole bunch of, like, I think 3 or 4 kids that have different abilities get put into a group to solve certain issues and crimes and whatnot. So she does decide to take this only because she is like, okay, well, I'm gonna find out who killed my mother because someone apparently was killed her mother and she didn't know who it was. And so she's been trying to figure this out for so long. So basically, she ends up getting into the program and finds out, different things about different people and whatever, and about the people in the program. And in that, she starts to realize one of the cases that one of the agents are working on is very, very closely related to what her mother's case is. Now, the person in charge of this whole thing was like, no, you're not gonna go do that case because we cannot have teenagers on active cases anymore because of things that have happened in the past. So of course she doesn't do it in front of them, but she decides to go behind their back and still figure out the case because she still wants to know. She feels like it's not a coincidence, basically. And in that, she does figure out what they want and what their games are. However, the twist that this book took was just so freaking good. I always say this with mystery books, that it always tends to be the person who you least suspect and or the person who is the closest to the friend group or the closest in the group that ends up being the suspect. Yeah, no, this book is definitely like a freaking 5 out of 5 star book. I am obsessed with it. I literally bought the second book, I think 2 days after I read this, because I was just like, nope, I need to know what happens. And apparently all these books are, the different with a person's past and person's background. So I'm really interested to see what the second book is. But overall, love this book. Following that same author is the second book in the Inheritance Games, which is the Hawthorne Legacy. Now, I read the Inheritance Game, I think like a year ago, and I absolutely loved it. It was so good. So I decided to pick this book up as my little Dark Academia kind of read. And I absolutely love this series. It is like almost like a comfort series, like it's probably my like top 5 comfort series. I'm not going to lie. In this, we are still continuing to follow Avery Grams as she is still trying to figure out why in the heck Toby Hawthorne, or whatever his name is, I don't remember, left all his inheritance and whatnot, and including his estate, to her. And in that, she does basically, she's trying to figure that out too. She does figure that out, and I also feel like this is the same thing with Good Girl Bad Blood. Everything that I say is going to give away like the secrets that are covered and the secrets that are uncovered and whatnot within the book. Which is, I hate that so much. Also, the love triangle that happens and the things that are happening within that love triangle are so amazing. I love them so much. But yeah, no, ultimately love this book. It was probably a like 4-star read for me, just because there were some points where I was just like, I don't care. There's like parts where I'm just like, I don't care about those characters. I don't care. Last and final book that I read in November, which I really didn't read, I literally DNF'd this book. And that is the third book in the Truly Devious trilogy, and that is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. Now, I will say, if I read this book after I finished the second book, I would probably like it more, but because I was also kind of fed up then with reading a bunch of mysteries, because I was reading a bunch of mysteries during November, I kind of just did not care anymore. But basically, we're continuing in this book to follow Stevie as she is trying to uncover the mysteries and secrets and whatnot of what happened, or what's happening in the Ellingham Academy. And I really, honestly, I wish I could say I like this book, but I did not. Like, don't. I just don't like the way that Stevie was handling everything and the way that she was going about everything. We were continuing to kind of, basically, what was happening was the author was continuing to say something about this, clock and about this thing and about walls and whatever. And I was like, okay, you literally have everything you need to close this case out. Like, you have everything you need to go to somebody and be like, hey, I know what happened with this case. But yet, you are not doing that. I stopped reading it after page, like, I think 200, because I was just like, oh, now you finally want to do something about it. Now you finally want to take action and do something and actually go and try and finish. So yeah, this book was a DNF. I literally was like, not having it, did not care. Like, I did not care anymore. So anyways, that is all the books that I read during the month from September to November. I'm sorry if the last part felt a little bit rushed, but I'm trying to get through all these books, that way I can go and edit this video and get that uploaded onto YouTube ASAP, because I was trying not to just throw the towel in and just say, nope, I'm not gonna finish it, not gonna do it. But I was like, you know what, I'm at least gonna try. So yeah, anyways, so if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And else, subscribe to this channel. Like I said, I have an update coming in my reset, so stay tuned for that. I'll probably be uploaded next week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you read any of these books, please comment down below how you liked them, if you didn't like them, if you feel the same way as I do about them, or if you never read these books and now I've convinced you to read some of these books. Also comment that down below. Catch y'all in the next one.